Hello friends! It's the end of 2021, so I wanted to do something a little bit different. An action retrospective, if you will. Plus, we'll take a look at some of the really cool plans that I have for 2022. But first, as promised, face reveal.
Hi, it's me, Action Retro. I really am just a wacky waving tattooed arm. Ha 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 ha.
Just kidding. Thanks Dana Does Stuff for that hilarious dad joke idea. But showing my face is just one of the improvements that we'll have going into 2022. And stick around until the end of the video for a sneak peek at some of the really interesting machines that we'll be looking at in the new year. So stay tuned. And if you enjoy vintage computers, wacky waving hands, and faces, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. We're going to have a lot of fun computing shenanigans this year, I guarantee it. So first, I want to say just how incredibly grateful I am for all of you watching these videos every week. And an extra big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you, literally none of these shenanigans would be possible. This year, I found and built some machines that I could hardly have even dreamed of when I was younger. So let's start off with some 2021 highlights. We started off the year with one of my favorite projects ever. We turned a dual G5 Power Mac from 2005 into a Minecraft server running the 64-bit version of my favorite PowerPC Linux distro, Adderley Linux. During this project, I got to know some incredibly cool and smart and talented people in the Action Retro Discord, whose help really took my half-baked idea to the next level. The service is still live today. Sorry about that downtime. Just running on a Mac Mini now to give my power bill a break from that G5. Continuing the theme of the incredible Action Retro community, we took a beautiful 3D printed mini blue and white G3 case sent in by friend of the channel Taylor, and we built a working emulated PowerPC Mac running macOS 9 and OS 10. I put together a custom Raspberry Pi image that's hacked to boot with a real Mac chime, and then load automatically into QEMU for an authentic Macintosh feel. And that image is freely available to download on archive.org, and I'll link to that in the description. We also upgraded a G4 Cube from 400 MHz to a bonkers 2 GHz. We had some tiny next step adventures on a libretto. Oh, and I maybe ruined the cursed Mac trying to clean it. Yeah. But it's clearly better now. But the thing I'm proudest of by far is building frogfind.com and 68k.news, two websites that are accessible on vintage computers and really old web browsers. They're designed to make many modern websites readable on those machines in plain text, with images optional using the Mozilla Readability open source library. We've had people in the Action Retro community use these sites to browse the web, read Google News, use Wikipedia on computers as old as a 1977 Tandy. I'm not exactly a professional developer, but my janky code seems to have held up for almost a whole year, and thanks to everyone that submitted fixes. And thanks to Steve from Mac84 for designing that incredible frog logo. You know what's not janky though? The sponsor of today's retrospective, PCBWay. Well known for their extremely fast and flexible PCB prototyping with turnarounds as fast as 24 hours. PCBWay has so much more to offer these days than simply PCBs. They've got CNC machining, high quality 3D printing, PCB assembly services so you can get your boards professionally populated and ready to use right out of the box, and much more. Their 3D printing service is especially useful to me because while I do have a 3D printer at home, it's pretty small and I need some pretty big pieces done, like the front drive bezel for my Quadra 950. So if you have any PCB needs, I hope you'll give PCBWay.com a try. Speaking of PCBWay, I'm really thankful for all of the new friends that I've made this year, sometimes in some really unexpected places. PCBWay has been a sponsor since the really early days of my channel, but more than that, I've made legitimate friends there. I've made friends with other vintage computing YouTubers, and I've gotten to go on cool podcasts like Mac Yak, the Fork Bomb podcast, and the Retro Hour with Dan Wood and Ravi Abbott, which is coming in early 2022. Probably my favorite time with new friends this year was going to VCF East with Steve from Mac 84 and Mike from Mike's Mac Shack. The three of us shared 2 cramped tables full of all of our Macintosh and some IBM goodies. And through 2 incredible and exhausting days, we got to meet all sorts of interesting people, we saw incredible vintage computing displays, and we just had an incredibly memorable time. In fact, we're already talking about doing it again in 2022. So one of the biggest things that happened this year to me personally is we moved to a new house, out of Philadelphia and into the burbs. And now I have way more space to film. In fact, the main reason I started making videos with just my hands waving around is that the room in our tiny Philly row house was literally too small to have both myself and the computer in the shot, even with the camera smashed all the way back against the back wall. Well, now space is absolutely no concern. I have a huge basement, finally! And I've already started building a new studio down here with all sorts of interesting things. Alright, welcome to the shaky hand cam segment of today's video. And I'm here in my drab, windowless basement office where I do most of my soldering now and my editing, which is a big step up from doing literally everything in the same tiny room in our old tiny Philly row house. But what's more exciting is out here. Here is the studio nook with all of my fun new toys and some spoilers for the, well, probably the next video, real video on the channel. But I put up all of this soundproofing stuff, and I got this big Godox light guy to hopefully make me look somewhat presentable. And I now have a mount for a teleprompter on my camera. No more taping paper scripts onto my old iPad on a stand. Although I still use this to control my camera. But I'm really excited for all the cool new stuff that I can do here with this big new space where I can actually try to do real lighting and get on camera. Now, before we have that sneak peek at some of the cool vintage computers that I have for 2022, I wanted to just take a quick look at this channel's growth in 2021, because I'm absolutely blown away. I started making these videos midway through 2020, right as things were starting to get weird. I thought an interesting challenge would be to see if I could make a video once per week, having never done anything like that before. And well, we're almost 100 videos in at this point. Over 30,000 of you have decided that these shenanigans are fun enough to want to follow along. And not to mention the incredible people on the Discord server who have helped me immensely over the years, and those of you in the Action Patreon. I'm so incredibly grateful for all of you, and I'm so excited to think about how much more we can grow in 2022. And by the way, I finally set up a P.O. box dedicated for item donations to the channel. I'll start including it in the video descriptions in case you have something interesting that you'd like to send into the channel or see featured on the channel. Okay, as promised, here is a sneak peek of some of the really cool machines that I'm planning on using, restoring, and giving wacky upgrades to in 2022. So take a look and let me know in the comments below which machines that you've spotted and which ones you're excited to see or upgrade. Okay, so that'll do it for this 2021 Action Retrospective. Your regular retro computing shenanigans content should resume next week. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and thank you again for the incredible 2021. And a special thanks to Chris Allegretta, Chris Calderon, Chris Nelson, Greg Hrutke from Hrutke Mods, Justin D. Morgan, and Nick Hamsey, who are my highest tiered patrons, and all of my Patreon supporters for helping to make these videos possible.